Yes. This is my buddy Saucy, and this is Saucy's roadmap to success. Basically, Saucy is being a Shar-Pei. Shar-Peis and certain Eastern Asian dogs are just very independent and determined. And she definitely has a lot of those attributes. But I think also she had some sort of negative experience. She does not like people reaching over her, which is why we have the video above. You can see already now I can reach over. She's still shying away a little bit, but much better than what we had before. So the videos above are going to cover the putting the harness on and attaching the collar. But that other exercise, the second video where we're reaching, that's what I would try to get a lot of people do with her. So we call it extinguishing the behavior. So she no longer is fearful of people reaching over, because when they reach over, that means good things. But remember, as I talked about in the video, if she shies away or leans away, that's her way of saying, I'm uncomfortable with this. So back up to an easier version of that, and always back up. We call it, one of my staffers calls that going back to school. So always back up to an easier level of success and practicing there a couple times. Once the dog's confidence higher, then you can go reach a little bit further or touch with extra fingers or hold or whatever the case may be. So watch those videos above. I'd recommend that if you have anybody that's going to need to watch her, have them come over and like a dozen times or so, maybe not necessarily that many times, but have them come over and practice this exercise with her. And a great way to do it would be for have you do the exercise and show them how to do it, and then coach people through it themselves. After a while, she has enough random people coming over and doing this. She's like, people putting the harness on me is the best thing ever. And then if she can do it with people that she doesn't know that well, when she goes to your family members or whatever, she's gonna feel more comfortable. Let me see. So basically, when we started off, we talked about marker words. Marker word is yes. Remember, and this is for you guys to watch right now, not for later. Your job is to switch one. You have the clicker, so you'll just walk around and say yes, give her the treat, and then you'll grab the clicker about an hour later and walk around, click, treat. Walk in the next room, click, treat. Keep doing that for about 10 or 12 treats. After you guys have done that, you probably never have to do that exercise again. That's called priming or loading the clicker. At that point, every time you click or say yes, she needs a treat or a positive a reinforcer within 2 seconds. Could be petting, yes. Could be talking to her nicely, but it's better if it's a treat or a pet. Okay, so we went over marker words. We also went over hand targeting. Yes. I forgot to say the word, didn't I? Let's do that again. Boop. She didn't get one there because I don't want the shake. So, boop, boop. And so this is why we don't say the word, the cue. Remember, cue is the command word or telling the dog what to do. A marker word is identifying when it did the right thing. So if I keep on saying boop, and she keeps on doing it with yes, with her paw, then she's going to confuse the paw part. So we're going to have a lot of failures when the dog is learning. We use a marker word so that they only hear the marker word and they do it successfully. That helps make it easier for them to understand what it is we want. Make sure you're saying the marker word consistently. Make sure that you're saying the marker word when the action happens. So the instant the nose touches my hand is when I say it. Almost never when I get the treat. And I did show you Cookie in the corner. That's one of those rare exceptions where we do say the marker word when the dog licks up the treat, because that's the goal of the exercise. But the marker comes when the dog does the action immediately as soon as they do it, unless the action has duration, then it would come at the end of it, like for potty. Yes. So we would say, if the dog gets done peeing, then we would say yes and give it the treat. Let me see. The clicker I would probably use outside, maybe on walks, but I mean, you can use them interchangeably. The clickers is just a little bit more unique. Yes. Celebrating. We'll talk about that in a sec. We also went over, let me see, what else did we go over? I have a different order, so it's hard for me to remember them all. All right, so we went over basically, yes. We went over, I guess we'll just go over the positive interrupter now. Positive interrupter, if the dog is doing something we don't want and we say their name, we can cause them to not listen for their name or think their name means they're in trouble. So what we like to do, can you see her in the shot right now? You don't have to panic. So if you want to watch her, I'll wait for her to stop looking at me. We want to either say a word 3 times like puppy, 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 or we would puppy, 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 or beep, beep, beep. Didn't work as well for her. The other one that I like to use the most is, that works faster for her. So it's like sucking through a straw that's got ice cream at the end of it or whatever. Now, as soon as the dog looks at you, then you need to do the hand targeting. You need to do throw some treats on the ground or show the dog I have something else going on. So the idea is I'm starting to lick the carpet. You make the positive interrupter sound. I try to look at you. Then you throw a hand target. I see that. I run over and touch my hand. I notice your hand. I get a treat. Then you give me a bully stick over here. I'm facing this direction. So the positive interrupter should interrupt the activity and then we need to give the dog something else to do at the end. Otherwise, they will just go right back to the original activity. And if they're doing an activity like that over and over again, it's probably an indication they need a little bit of exercise. We'll talk about exercise here in a sec. So the positive interrupter, try to pick one of those, whichever one's easier for you. And you can do that loading exercise with the positive interrupter as well. Say, beep, 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 treat. Walk in the next room, beep, 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 treat. After a while, beep, beep, beep means I'm about to get a treat. Okay, we also went over, petting with a purpose and passive training. Petting with a purpose is if you would like to pet her or she wants you to pet her. You're asking her to do something like a sit or a down. Don't do it for a shake. You're only going to ask her one time. If she does not do it within 2 seconds, provided she knows what it is. I think for her, again, I think she knows the gesture of a sit, not necessarily the word. I think she's getting better at that, but she needs more practice. So actually, let me talk about that real quick. So for marker words, we say the marker word when the dog does the action. We do that until the dog is doing the action pretty easily. So if I'm trying to teach a dog to sit, I might lure it into a sit and say yes and give it a treat, take a step away, lure it into a sit, do it about 4 or 5 times, so it's pretty easy to lure the dog into a sit. Now if I can reliably predict the dog's gonna do it, 90% or better chance that I can lure the dog into it, then I would say sit, lure the dog, say the marker word yes, and then release the treat. After a while, I could say sit, the dog sits, and I don't have to use the marker word at that point because the dog understands what it is. So I'd say sit, the dog's butt hits around, and I say give it, and I give it a treat. So it would be a time where you'll use your marker word and your cue overlapping, but eventually we want to just use the cue only. Okay, so for, not for exercise, or for petting with a purpose. So if she tells you what to do, you're going to ask her to do something else, like sitting or laying down. If she does it right away, within 2 seconds of the first and only time you say it, then you say yes, and then you pet her under the chin and pet her as much or as little as you want. And then if she doesn't do it, remember, playing hard to get works great for dog training. And there's no punishment. It's like, oh, you're missing out. I'm just going to go back to doing what I'm doing. I'm painting, I'm working out, I'm listening to music or whatever it is. She's the one that's missing out. That will make her more motivated to want to listen to you again in the future. Eventually, she'll start sitting down in front of you to prepay for the attention. When she does, make sure you say your marker word and pet that. Otherwise, she will go back to nudging you. This is kind of similar to like parents and children. We teach children how to say please. Mommy, I want some candy. How would you like to ask for candy? Mommy, can I please have some candy? Yes, and we give it to them. So it's a lot of coachable moments. You're going to have hundreds and hundreds of those before she starts to figure this out. So don't think my dog is dumb. She's not figuring it out. It just takes a lot of repetition. Now, yes, that's celebrate. We're going to talk about that in 1 second. Use your marker word when she does the thing that you want, and then pet her. And after a while, like I said, she'll start prepaying for it. Use that watch word of paycheck if you suspect someone forgot to pet the dog, or if you see the dog petting, dog's jumped up and she's petting, you say paycheck, the person stop petting. When the dog gets down, tell the dog to sit or lay down, and then reward it for doing that. Now, if the dog comes up and sits or nudges you, and you say sit and yes, and then you pet, and then a second later it nudges you again, it's saying I'm bored, I want more activity. There's no rule that says you only have to pet your dog for 3 seconds. So sit down and give your dog 1 minute of full pets. Pet all the areas of the body, or if that's not enough, maybe take her for a walk. Play a little tug of war, do a little training, do some hand targeting, do something and give the dog something else to do, give it a lick mat. All right, so that's petting with a purpose. That's if you want to pet her or she wants you to pet her, and for about 3 months, I want you to try to exclusively pet her for doing things for you. After that, you can still pet her when she's just cute and you just want to love on her, that's fine. But if she's demanding the attention, make sure you're redirecting her, so you're teaching her to say please or thank you to ask for attention as opposed to demanding it. Celebrating, which is what I just talked about there, is waiting for her when she does things on her own that we like, sitting, laying down, going to the dog bed, looking at us, drinking water, pooping, whatever it is. When she does it on her own, we say the marker word, and then we go ahead and reward her. So after a while, she's going to know, they like it when I sit. We were talking about the walks. So when you're on a walk, have a treat in your hand at all times. Anytime she looks at you, say yes and hold that treat down. Make sure they're really, really high value treats. What's she doing? She's practicing coming back to you because you're holding the treat, you're not giving it to her, but it's like, yes. Every time, all I got to do is look at you, I get a treat. Well, then I'm going to look at you more often and look at you more often. And when I'm looking at you more often, I'm checking in with you. I'm less looking at the environment. And eventually, if you want, I can send you that share that focus video with you. But eventually, you can say focus, and the dog looks up at you, and then you have the treat coming. So now you can redirect her attention. But right now, just focus on when she looks at you at home or on walks or anything else to have a treat with you, and go ahead and hook her up with a treat. This is a mini treat pouch from PetSafe. I would recommend you get one of these things. They're about $20. You're going to give your dog probably puppyhood, you give them about 15,000 treats in the first year of their life. So we're going to give a lot of treats, and there's nothing wrong with giving treats. Just substitute take a little bit less food and give use those fresh green beans if you need to. I thought she was up there so she could just photo mom. But if you have this with you, you can have a little pocket here. You can put poop bags or your clicker or whatever it is, and you can have your treats in here. And then that way you can give this to your guests when your guests come in. Oh, she's like, oh my God, guests could be hooking me up with treats at any time. Boy, I'm going to go sit next to them. I'm going to go nudge them. Now they have the motivation to go and interact with them. The hand targeting is also something I would have you do when you have guests come over. You guys do it yourself a couple times, and then have you over here and the dog and your guest over there. You do one, touches your nose, goes to your guest, touches your nose. The dog's nose is your guest's hand. The dog is learning how to interact with the guest, and she gets to do it on her own. You can use the hand targeting reposition her as an alternative recall. You can use that for the harness a little bit. There's a lot of benefits to that. All right, so celebrate is the watchword we use for celebrating the things the dog doesn't want. So if she could, like right here, if somebody could say celebrate, and I would be like, yes, and pet her. I missed it. I wasn't going to see that she came to me. Somebody else saw it, and they helped me indicate that. Paycheck is what we use if we think the dog, if somebody's petting without a purpose or forgot to pet with a purpose. We also went over exercise. So forms of exercise, yes. Sniff walks, remember let her sniff as much as possible on walks. And again, keep on giving her that eye contact. Every time you see eye contact, let her hold that treat out. And every time you start walking, also say, let's go when you start the walk. Every time. So stop at every corner. Sit. She sits, yes, give her a treat. Let's go and walk across. You got a lot of different corners here in your neck of the woods. So if you go ahead, if you go ahead and do that each time that you're crossing a street, that gives you a lot of opportunities to practice the sit, practice your marker word, and practice let's go. So eventually, when she's stopping and sniffing something, we want to let her sniff as much as possible. But sometimes when we're in a bit of a hurry, let her sniff a reasonable amount. Hey, let's go. And so try to wait for that nose to come off the ground. You're always going to lose with the dog's nose, and the more that we pull them on a leash, the more they're going to pull back. And so try to wait for that nose to come up, then make that positive interrupter sound. Show you have a treat. If you have to, throw a couple treats here. You got her away from her sniffs, and she came forward. She got a couple treats. You showed her another one. Let's go and start walking down the street. All right. So for exercise, sniff walks, playing tug of war. Playing games of fetch. Those are great ways to do it. You can also use the doggy stairmaster, but again, be careful about that and check with your vet for all of these forms of exercise to make sure your vet is okay with it. For a vet, I would look for, the Guardians have a vet here, but because she has some fear and anxiety of the vets, I would recommend that you find a cooperative, a vet that practices what's known as cooperative care. Force-free vet. Not every vet does this, but there are really cool things the dog does that the vets can do to make the dog feel more comfortable. So I would look into those, and also anytime you're going to do something new and your dog's uncomfortable, break it down. How can I make it easier? So if I'm going to a new vet office, I'm uncomfortable, well, I ask the vet, hey, can we come in at closing time, right after when you guys are closing up? I just want to come in or give her a bunch of treats for jumping on the scale and going to the exam room and have you guys give her treats and we leave. So we come in there 5 or 6 times for that. When you come in for the actual examination, I'm comfortable with that. Remember, tenting is where you're going to pinch the skin like this. It's not hard, but you're holding it like that. So I would maybe, for you, because you're comfortable with it, reach over, and it's usually done on the derriere. So reach on her back, tent it, yes, and give her a treat. So make her think that when somebody's pinching my butt, boy, is that a good positive thing? I'm about to get a treat. And when you have the vet, they can do, if they have to put her under, they can do a sub-Q, which is an injection that goes under the skin and not into the vein, which I think would be probably more difficult for her. But again, if you go to a cooperative care vet, they'll probably have a whole lot of tips and tricks that you can do. There are actually classes you can go to teach your dog to be comfortable going to a vet, and you might want to look into those. Just make sure it's force and punishment free. Okay, so that's physical exercise. You can also get a harness that has backpacks, but because you have a harness issue, that might not be the best thing. And she's not super high energy, so I don't think you need a ton, but remember, exercise and mental stimulation needs to come every couple of hours. And if you have something going on she's going to be not comfortable with, like a vet visit, she should get a walk about a half an hour before. She should just have 10 minutes to recover from the end of the exercise till the next thing happens, and riding in the car does not count for that. The Guardians talked about a lot of things, so we might need to come back and work on getting her into the car, teaching her focus exercise. So if you want, we can maybe set up a 1-hour follow-up session in a month or so and build on some other stuff we've come over. Let me see, what else? For mental stimulation is also physically, also important. Can you grab me that? So remember, this is a lick mat. Get one of these. Make sure it has the suction cups on the back, so that way it'll stick on the floor. Smell with peanut butter. I don't think she's going to have a problem with peanut butter unless she has a food allergy. And then you can also feed her out of a snuffle mat. The snuffle mat should make sure it's thick carpet, has a lot of that shag. Don't get one that looks like it's balding. So if you feed her out of that, that's like extra 2 walks you get a day. You give her one of these things, that's like an extra walk. The cookie in the corner game that I showed you, throwing those treats and saying treasure. And so now you can say, eventually, maybe we take her for a walk. Maybe the J-Man is here and he hides 7 or 8 treats. When he comes in, he's like, hey, treasure! And she goes and she's using her nose. Remember, using the nose is very draining of energy. So if we feed her out of a snuffle mat and use, or an Omega Paw Tricky Trainer treat ball, they make Omega Paw treat ball, I think is what it's called. But they have all sorts of other puzzles. Kongs filled with peanut butter, also nice things for her to do. The Guardian is a little bit nervous. Her nails are a little bit long, by the way. The Guardian is a little bit nervous about her eating bully sticks. She had one that she tried to swallow whole. You can get a little clamp that you can put the bully stick in. That'll prevent that. I'm not that worried about it. But again, go to a high-end pet store, cow kneecap, get her one of those, get her a trachea, get her a no hide or a cow cheek, get her a cow's ear. Tendons are also great. They look kind of weird, but they're great. I would also get her a water buffalo horn, make sure it's solid on the sides, or at least a 1/4 inch thick. And I would get her an antler or two. If she doesn't like the antler, get an antler that's split down the axis like that. That makes them a little bit more appealable. If she really doesn't like that, then give it to a friend that has a dog and let the dog chew on it for about a week and get it back. That usually will help do the trick. Dogs need to chew on things. You can also get her some Nylabones of different flavors and different shapes. Remember, there should be toys everywhere. And one of the exercise things, go grab a bunch of your toys, grab like 15 toys and put them all around your house. So she likes to pick them up and collect them and bring them upstairs. That's great, but that's good exercise for her. It gives her something to do. We need daily tasks. When Matthew McConaughey won the Oscar, he was like, you got to have something to look forward to, somebody to look up to, and something to chase. So give her something to look forward to. I've got to pull, grab all these toys and pull them back upstairs. My Guardian, God, she always has put my stuff all over the place. I got to clean it up. But you're giving her something to do. Let me see. We also, for mental stimulation, training is a wonderful way to burn energy. Just make sure your training sessions are no more than 3 minutes maximum. And that's something we could also go over, teaching her how to stay. That's a nice impulse control exercise. And always end on a positive when you're doing when you're training your dog, and not training your dog in a lot of different environments. Sitting facing that way, sitting facing this way, standing up on the stairs, and all over different. Dogs don't generalize well. They need a lot of variety in training in order to really absorb something. Let me see. We also went over. Trying to think what else we went over. I think that's just about it. The rules. So rules that I recommend: not being allowed in the kitchen when we're preparing food, not allowed around the humans when the humans are eating. Don't give her people food from your plate because that causes her to want to do that. Pre-max, less desirable behavior earns me more desirable behavior. You want to get on the furniture? Sit, and then I'll invite you up. I did talk about this, right? Okay. Let me see, what else? So try to keep yourself about 4 or 5 rules that you practice. And anything she doesn't like, again, like putting the harness on, practice that 5 or 10 times a day in very short sessions with the videos above, till it's just something she likes to do. You hold the harness up, she'll come over and shove her head through there. And do the same when you get a new harness, you'll have to do the same thing. Wait until she's comfortable before you attach the tags and stuff with it. Let me see. I'm trying to think. I think that's just about it. Is there anything else you want me to go over? If you have any questions or problems, please text me. If I don't hear from you, I assume everything's going great, but I have all these videos on all the stuff that we've covered that I can share with you. It goes into in-depth detail. There's nothing wrong with forgetting things. I cover a lot in a 3-hour session. We've been here for 5 hours. So there are probably little things that you're going to miss. That's okay. Text me about watch this video again. People usually watch the video once. If you come back and watch it about 2 weeks later and about a month later, there'll be a lot of little things that you might not pick up on that will help you remember. But yeah, she looks good and tired. This is a successful session. Well, this is my buddy Saucy, and this is Saucy's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.